Good Monday morning. I want to welcome the representatives of the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council. I'm Rosanna Rosado, the Secretary of State, and I have the privilege of chairing this thing we call the Siat, which is the Strategic Implementation Assessment Team. I'd like to acknowledge the co-chairs of the REDC, Harvey Stenger, President of Binghamton University, who has served since 2013, and Judy McKinney Cherry, Executive Director of the Schuyler County Partnership for Economic Development, who became co-chair this spring. Thank you. It's great to see you, and we look forward to hearing about your plans for next year. The panel is made up of my colleagues here on the table, so I just want to introduce them before we turn it over to you. We have with us today Richard Ball, Commissioner of the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, Alicia Barton, President and CEO of NYSERDA, New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, Roanne DiStito, Commissioner of the Office of General Services, Eric Kulisade, Commissioner, Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, Roberta Reardon, Commissioner, Department of Labor, Brian Stratton, Director of Canals, New York State Canal Corporation, Ruthann Wisnowski's Commissioner, Homes and Community Renewal. Oh, she's here. Good. Senator Neil Breslin, District 44. We are in his district today. Senator Anna Kaplan from District 7, and Assemblywoman Donna Lupardo from the Southern Tier. And that's who's with us today on this side of the table. So as you know the drill, you have about 45 minutes, and then we're going to have a robust Q&A. And you're going to explain to us these contraptions that are on our table right now.
Yes. Yes. Are we ready?
Yes.
Great. Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm privileged to be with my colleagues this morning to share with you the Southern Tier, our plan, our accomplishments, what we plan to do, and the activities that our work group has been working on for the last year. We are very, very blessed that all of our work groups have been very active. They meet regularly, and I think this really does fit what we've talked about in terms of getting a bottoms-up input into our economic development strategies, as well as the other programs that we have with all the different agencies that provide us funding. My name is Judy McKinney Cherry. I'm the Executive Director of the Schuyler County Partnership for Economic Development. And with me is Stacy Duncan.
Can you move the mic closer to you? Yeah.
I can. How's that? Is that better? Much better. Stacy Duncan, our Regional Council Advanced Manufacturing Work Group co-chair. She's also the Executive Director of the IDA Broome County Chamber and is part of the agency. Jeannie Oshbach has been with us since 2014 as our co-chair for the Council's Workforce Development Work Group, and she holds the position of Executive Director of Workforce Education and Academic Pathways for the SUNY Corning Community College. Betsy Hale is our Council's URI Committee Chair. She is also engaged with the Advanced Manufacturing Work Group as co-chair and is the president of Three Rivers Development Corporation. Donna Howell is our regional director for the Empire State Development Office in Binghamton, and Brett Hunter is representing the City of Hornell, DRI Round 4 Local Planning Committee, and he is also a professor of art at Alfred University. He's also the executive director for the Community Arts Center in Hornell. Tom Skyver is our council's Innovative Cultures Work Group co-chair. He's also the guru that has led the Grow New York business competition as well as the 76 West Clean Energy business competition, and he holds the position of Executive Director for the Cornell Center for Regional Economic Advancement. So first we'd like to tell you a little bit about our region. We have 8 counties that are packed full of academic powerhouses, including Cornell and Binghamton University. We have successful global corporations such as Corning Incorporated and Raymond Corporation, as well as major recreational and cultural institutions like the Watkins Glen International Speedway and Corning Museum of Glass. While the region is mostly rural, we have bustling downtowns as well. We'd like to start by reviewing the goals set out in our strategic plan called Southern Tier Soaring and give you an update on our progress towards those goals. The Southern Tier Soaring Plan rests on 4 key pillars, and we have updated several aspects of our strategic plan, including improvements or updates in our advanced manufacturing, our workforce development, our innovative cultures, which includes our environmental justice. The strategic pillars include 1, build the greater Binghamton innovation ecosystem, 2, invest in the advanced manufacturing industry, 3, transform the food and agricultural industry, and 4, promote the Southern Tier's innovative culture. These initiatives are closely integrated with the state priorities of placemaking, tradable sectors, workforce development, and innovation. And oh yes, this is why I forgot this. Oh yes, under advanced manufacturing, I should have mentioned that we are also very proud that we have a Nobel laureate, Stanley Whittingham, who we also call Stan the Man. So, as you will hear throughout this presentation, the projects supported through the Regional Council have a much larger overall impact on our regional economy and targeted clusters than simply the sum of the parts. By supporting emerging high-growth industries, investing in our communities, and most importantly, our people, the projects supported through the Regional Council are redefining the region as a high-tech hub with a global reach, a food hub for the Northeast, and a tourism destination with vibrant downtowns. But you don't have to take our word for it. Please direct your attention to the screen on for our video. It's a tour through some of our notable past projects, and I think you will be very impressed, and I think you'll catch the spirit as we are fortifying for 2020. This video was produced by a company that graduated out of the Kauffman Incubator at Binghamton University.
Hey, I'm Dylan.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Harrison. Let's go explore the Southern Tier. There's a lot of excitement about startups and entrepreneurs in our region, but this part of upstate New York has also produced a lot of well-established companies whose names you might know. One of them is Corning, which has a history of over 165 years of innovation.
Corning is also famous for its Museum of Glass, which we're visiting today. Nearly 500,000 visitors come here each year.
All right, so we're gonna head downstairs to the studio and try our hand at the trade. So Steuben County, like a lot of the Southern Tier, has a great mix of rural communities and important manufacturing. Alstom, which makes trains, has recently expanded their facilities to Hornell.
The funds from Southern Tier Soaring have helped upstate Niagara acquire a Kraft Heinz facility in Campbell.
This has helped the dairy cooperative invest in new equipment and retain workers.
Food and agriculture are a vital part of the Southern Tier's economy. We're visiting a new ultra-premium beverage facility, which was built with Southern Tier Soaring support for ultra-premium wine and beer production, warehousing, and distribution.
The Regional Council supported very important projects, including one that took the wastewater treatment facility away from the downtown.
Funds also help support track and safety upgrades at Watkins International. Downtown Elmira has seen a lift from the Southern Tier Soaring Plan, and manufacturers in Chemung County have also made some impressive updates.
Anchor Glass Container Corporation has modernized its manufacturing plants.
And Cameron Manufacturing, a metal fabricator, has consolidated its facilities and expanded its headquarters in Horseheads.
Cornell University contributes to this area's startup scene and attracts scholars from around the world.
And the university is a big reason why places like the Ithaca Commons, where we're standing, are so vibrant.
Did you know the university even has its own particle accelerator? It's one of only 5 in the world that can generate the high energy X-rays needed for research in fields like biology, physics, and material science.
Great communities need great childcare. Ithaca Community Childcare Center will be expanding its capacity and services by providing after-school and part-day toddler and pre-K programming. This expansion will add 4 new classrooms and help meet growing demand for high-quality, affordable childcare.
Just like kids need special attention from the region, so do older residents. Owego Garden Senior Housing provides affordable living for residents of Tioga County.
It is a beautiful day to go to the Broome County Farmers Market.
Definitely is. This is one of my favorite places to come, taste something new, maybe buy some fresh ingredients for dinner.
Let's do this.
The Health Sciences campus in Johnson City is already home to Binghamton University's School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. The Decker College of Nursing and Health Sciences building will be open in 2020.
Binghamton University saw that this brownfield site had potential for high-tech education and startups.
Unison Industries' Norris facility manufactures power generation and control systems for gas turbine engines and other aerospace components. About 350 people work at this location, which also does product engineering, new product development, and testing.
With support from the REDC, they will renovate their existing plant and expand their production.
The Roxbury Motel has been featured in CNN and Animal Planet, in Condé Nast Traveler, and more. It's one of the most talked about hotels in the Catskills.
One look at its themed rooms and you'll see why. Let's check it out.
After following us around, I hope you love the Southern Tier as much as we do.
Bye!
Wow. We hope you enjoyed the ride with our energetic tour guides. And by the way, they're younger than millennials. They're Gen Zers, the next generation of New York's workforce. With us today is Emily. She's available for autographs afterwards. Emily is a student at BU, and she actually, I think, hails from the Long Island region. Is that correct? New York? Yeah. Westchester. Okay, and also Judy may have noted Dylan and Harrison, also Gen Zers, started their company, their media company, at the Kauffman Incubator. They've since graduated out, and they enjoyed the Southern Tier, and they got so much support from the Kauffman Incubator, they've decided to grow their company in the Southern Tier. Every time I watch this video, I love to see how our regional CFA dollars are transforming lives from babies to boomers. Improving the quality of life of New Yorkers is one way to measure our success. Another way to consider our success is to look at the status of our projects. Over the past 8 years, you'll see that a majority of our projects are complete or running on schedule. We can also look at our success by looking at the location of our projects. You'll see from the map that we are making strategic, transformational investments from our far western edge in Hornell to the far eastern edge of rural Delaware County. Over the past 8 rounds, 163 priority projects have been granted through Empire State Development grants. Through those grants, totaling over 154 million, another 680 million of private sector investment has been made for a total of 834 million of game-changing economic and community development in the Southern Tier. One exceptional bright spot among those projects has been the success of the region's business competitions. Tom?
The Southern Tier is a big region with a distributed population and a core strength in higher education, both students and research and development. We host over 60,000 college students in a population of just over 640,000, and we're home to top research institutions. Importantly, in addition to leading universities, we also have highly engaged employers like Corning, whose 400 PhDs at Sullivan Park would be a top global university in material science R&D if they decided to join us in the ivory tower. A core aspect of the Southern Tier's innovation strategy is to leverage those innovation assets to support startup clusters as a way to diversify the economy and generate new jobs. We've been inspired by the governor's spirit of competition to use business competitions as a way of building startup clusters in clean energy and food and agriculture based on the foundation represented by the region's business incubators and innovation hotspot. NYSERDA has funded and administered the 76 West Clean Energy Competition. We recently announced the winners of the 4th year. We've worked hard to connect these winners to regional assets and help them put down roots. I'm proud to say that 17 of the 18 winners from the first 3 years are still operating in New York State. They employ over 100 people already, have raised $28 million in follow-on private capital, and with companies like C4V, which was founded by one of Nobel Prize-winning Stan Whittingham's PhD students, and their Binghamton Gigafactory, they have plans to grow much bigger in the future. Continuing 76 West for another 4 years as a URI project, and will be done in continued partnership with NYSERDA. This year was the launch of Grow New York, a 3-region competition jointly with Finger Lakes and Central New York to focus on high-growth potential food and ag startups. We're proud that this was the first multi-region URI project. The first year's summit and awards were made just last week, with over 900 pre-registrations at the summit event held in Rochester. Like 76 West, connecting finalists to the region was a key aspect of that program, with 17 finalist companies being mentored and escorted around the region on curated business development trips.
The many startup companies that Tom just mentioned may someday become international manufacturing powerhouses like Alstom, located in Hornell and headquartered in France. Now I'd like to give you an update on the project. In the fall of 2016, Governor Cuomo joined us in Hornell to announce that New York State would be investing $30 million with Alstom Transportation to expand their facility and operations, creating nearly 200 jobs in Steuben County and retaining more than 1,000. Alstom is a global leader in integrated railway systems, and its rolling stock facility in Hornell has been manufacturing and servicing trains for nearly 150 years. The $66.8 million expansion entailed the renovation of existing space at the Hornell facility, adding 60,000 square feet of production and engineering space and 10,000 feet of new track, including 4,000 feet of new test track. Just last month, Alstom completed the first of 28 train sets, which is now in static testing and will be shipped to Colorado in February for live on-track testing. This project has been a boon to the region and state economy. Of the 237 American suppliers to the project, 95 or 40% are located in New York State. Now let's hear about what's happening in the greater Binghamton innovation ecosystem.
Thank you, Betsy. As you saw from our video, the Binghamton University Health Sciences Campus is in the heart of the village of Johnson City and a signature project of the Southern Tier Soaring Plan. Once a vital and thriving manufacturing hub in Broome County, Johnson City is one of the most challenged communities in the region. What it does have, however, is a major medical center that is also a major employer in the region, UHS Wilson Medical Center. So when Binghamton University began plans to expand their health sciences campus, JC became the obvious choice. Just a decade earlier, BU placed its College of Community and Public Affairs in downtown Binghamton, and this move has often been credited for beginning an economic revival in downtown and led to nearly $150 million in new private sector investment. Fast forward to Johnson City, where the center of the 15-acre health sciences campus is BU's School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. This new building welcomed the second class of the pharmacy school in the fall of 2018, and an R&D facility for the school is in its planning and design stages. The anticipated relocation of the Decker School of Nursing from the main campus to Johnson City is also progressing, with a $35 million rehabilitation of a former Endicott Johnson factory. Through the support of New York State and the REDC process, BU, as well as private investors, have turned these historic and old buildings into housing units, and now the new Decker College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Decker will open in 2020 and will coincide with the opening of the Ford Family Senior Care Center that will provide integrative primary health care and holistic health and wellness services to the community through collaborative partnerships. It will provide a place for students to participate in clinical rotations as well as a valuable service to the elderly in our community. The Health Sciences campus will provide an outstanding state-of-the-art educational opportunity for students wanting to enter the growing health sciences sector, which is in high demand in our region. But it is just one of the key accomplishments achieved with this project. The Health Science campus will transform Johnson City. New housing units, many of them affordable housing, like the Century Sunrise Project, which receives support from ESD, HCR, and the Department of State, are complete, and many more are being planned. Businesses along Main Street are opening in anticipation of the 1,500 students, faculty, and staff that will study and work at the campus when all is done. In addition, $60 million in private sector investments to date have been made directly as a result of the investment being made by New York State. We are also aware of additional investments that could top $100 million that are in the early planning stages, and we hope to bring these to you in the future. I would now like to tell you a little bit more about specific regional priorities, beginning with the Greater Binghamton Innovation Ecosystem. Our plan to build the Greater Binghamton Innovation Ecosystem calls for the development of 3 distinctive innovation districts that will become drivers of a new advanced economy in Greater Binghamton. These are the City of Binghamton I District, the JC Health and Cultural District, and the Endicott Advanced Manufacturing I District. We also plan to invest in regional strengths in advanced manufacturing, healthcare, and STEM education. Our goal, to leverage the R&D capabilities of academia and industry to give Southern Tier companies a competitive edge, to attract new jobs and create opportunities for a reinvigorated workforce. Since the beginning of the CFA process, the Southern Tier REDC has provided nearly $40 million in funding to 36 projects to support the Greater Binghamton Innovation Ecosystem. This has leveraged more than $192 million in other funding for a total investment of more than $232 million. In this photo, you will see 41 to 43 Court Street in the heart of downtown Binghamton. This historic building once served as a speakeasy, but has sat dormant for years. The current tenant, Galaxy Brewing, has outgrown the first floor space and will be moving to a new location in the Binghamton area. Thankfully, some local developers are ready to return the entire building to its former glory as an entertainment venue, adding a 2-screen movie theater to downtown, a public venue for arts and culture, and makerspace for local artisans. The Southern Tier REDC is supporting this important placemaking project as part of our larger effort to build the Greater Binghamton Innovation Ecosystem and build on past investments, including the successful $20 million Greater Binghamton Fund. But if you really want to talk about innovation, have we mentioned our friend M. Stanley Whittingham, who likes to be called just Stan, or Stan the Man, as we say, received the 2019 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the development of the lithium-ion battery. Stan's research, along with his research partners, began nearly 30 years ago, and we are thrilled to see his efforts recognized. We're also incredibly thrilled to build on this kind of innovation in the Southern Tier, including areas like advanced manufacturing. Betsy.
We are so proud of Dr. Whittingham, as you can tell, and we don't call him Flat Stanley. And innovation is important in the Greater Binghamton I District, but it's also important through all 8 counties of the Southern Tier. In our original regional plan, we focused our investments on advanced manufacturing and advanced transportation manufacturing. Projects like Corning Inks Diesel and Alstom Rail Manufacturing Center for Excellence have been highlights. This year, the Advanced Manufacturing Work Group updated the Southern Tier Soaring Plan to celebrate not only our Nobel Prize winner, but the entire clean energy, energy storage, and battery technology ecosystem present in the Southern Tier. In future years, you will see URI and CFA applications which help build our existing employers' manufacturing capabilities, grow supply chain companies, and make strategic investments in research and development efforts at our flagship universities and private companies. All of these efforts will be to support Governor Cuomo's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act goals. The act is sweeping and comprehensive by setting goals to shift New York State to 70% renewable energy use by 2030 and reduce carbon emissions by 85% over the next 30 years. It will take a combination of strategic investments in both R&D and capital projects that will be the key to New York State becoming a global leader in the renewable energy revolution. The Southern Tier is proud to be New York State's clean energy hub, as stated by Lieutenant Governor Hochul at the 76 West Awards ceremonies in October, and we are also proud to have the opportunity, and we're very grateful to apply for Accelerate the Southern Tier grants being provided by NYSERDA over the next year. Since the beginning of the CFA process, the Southern Tier has provided $89 million in funding to 65 projects in advanced manufacturing. This critical investment has leveraged another $729 million of funding, 65 projects, $89 million in REDC funding, leveraging another $729 million of private sector investment, resulting in the creation of over 2,800 new jobs and the retention of 19,800 jobs. Our feature project this year is Tioga Container. Tioga Container is a 49-year-old company that customizes packaging and shipping solutions for Southern Tier companies such as Corning, FM Howell, Hilliard, Emart Glass, Demetz Candy, and Upstate Niagara. This key supply chain company is located in Pennsylvania, and they would like to relocate two of their divisions, dunnage and pallets, to a former Ingersoll Rand foundry site in Painted Post located in Steuben County. This site has been vacant since 1986 and is a designated New York State brownfield opportunity area. With Empire State Development's support, the company will develop 140,000 square feet of new manufacturing and warehouse space, acquire some equipment, and they will also hire 42 new workers. This strategic investment will help our region achieve the governor's goals expressed via the Global New York program and the URI Tradable Sectors priority, as their customer base in Mexico and Canada will be able to increase due to this expansion. Tioga Container is an important partner for Upstate Niagara, as they provide packaging for Upstate's world-famous cheese products, which Judy will be telling you more about.
Thank you, Betsy. So you've heard what's happening in the first two pillars in our strategic plan, and the third pillar is our food and agriculture pillar. And we partner with Ag and Markets for many of our projects that we are doing in our region. So we are continuously developing new technologies to transition the region from being a highly seasonal provider of food products to a reliable year-round source of supply for the East Coast. A $30 million Southern Tier Agriculture Industry Enhancement Program has helped expand farms and increase their profitability. The region has a growing, robust hemp industry, fulfilling Governor Cuomo's goals of making the Southern Tier a key leader in the resurgence of hemp in New York, in the U.S., and worldwide. Several of this year's projects will increase the diversity of and access to food processing facilities around the region. We will leverage our location at the crossroads of upstate New York through the creation of a food hub network and pioneering workforce development initiatives that will bolster the food and agricultural industries. Since the beginning of the CFA process, the Southern Tier REDC has provided $15.7 million in funding for 30 projects to support the food and ag industry. This has leveraged more than $80 million in other funding for a total investment in our farms and food processors of $96 million. We have 7 priority projects in the CFA round this year. Upstate Niagara It's a dairy farmer cooperative that announced in 2017 that they would acquire the at-risk Kraft Heinz Polio plant in Steuben County. Upstate Niagara committed $10 million for new machinery and equipment while retaining at least 150 jobs. This year, Upstate Niagara is proposing to more than double that overall investment with support from the Regional Council in order to modernize equipment and upgrade their infrastructure. This will allow Upstate Niagara to produce an additional 16 million pounds of cheese by the end of 2023 and hire 31 more workers. Not only will the plant continue, it is producing globally renowned cheeses. At the 2019 World Dairy Expo, the facility won first place for string cheese and second place for their mozzarella cheese. Now, most awards, you can sort of say they're ho-hum, but in this case, this expo had 65,000 attendees. It had 100 countries represented, and there were 1,500 entrants in this contest. So it is something to be very proud of. The Southern Tier Regional Council is supporting this project as part of our larger effort to transform the food and agriculture industry, building off our region's successful dairy industry. Now I'm going to turn this over to Tom, who is the co-chair of our Innovative Cultures Work Group.
The fourth pillar of the Southern Tier Soaring Plan focuses on promoting the Southern Tier's innovative culture. We seek to promote the region's quality of life and capacity for innovation and ignite a fierce community pride that compels residents to be regional ambassadors. We intend to strengthen the region's tourism and community assets, retain more graduates of the region's colleges, maximize innovation and intellectual capital among private sector and academic institutions, and nurture a critical mass of entrepreneurs. Since the beginning of the CFA process, the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council has provided $79 million in funding to 181 projects to promote our region's innovative culture. This has leveraged more than $284 million in other funding for a total investment in our tourism, entrepreneurial, and high-growth industries of $363 million. This is in addition to the private capital raised by startups in our local incubators and supported by our regional innovation hotspot, which amounts to more than $52 million in new private capital raised in 2018 alone. Last December, a car wreck occurred and a telephone pole was hit where, unfortunately, broadband fiber was hanging. This single accident left the city of Elmira, county of Schuyler, Corning Hospital, Elmira Savings Bank, 8 Guthrie Health clinics, 500 Guthrie Health employees, school districts in 3 counties, and Corning Community College, all out of service for over 14 hours. In addition, 911 services were affected. The Regional Council is supporting Southern Tier Network's projects to create redundancies in order to prevent future incidents such as the last one last December, which impacted the health, safety, and commerce of the residents of the Southern Tier. This project will build redundant loops of fiber in 5 counties across the Southern Tier, utilizing 9 diverse routes. This project is part of the broader regional strategy to promote the Southern Tier's innovative culture by supporting the expansion and strengthening of the region's high-speed telecommunications infrastructure, including both broadband and 5G wireless. Open access to modern communications builds off the governor's investment in the new New York broadband program. This proposal is also one of 62 CFA projects that are recommended by the Council that align with the Governor's environmental justice agenda in the Southern Tier. All of these projects hinge on supporting and developing a competitive workforce. Let me hand it off to Jeannie to describe our workforce development efforts.
Thank you, Tom. In addition to the regional goals that we've just discussed, the Southern Tier has also identified and developed projects that support priorities such as workforce development and downtown revitalization. In 2014, the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Council recognized the critical workforce needs of the region and created a workforce subcommittee with representatives from the local workforce investment boards, our local BOCES, our local college workforce teams, regional businesses, and nonprofit organizations. This group has led the region in developing strategic initiatives to solve real workforce problems such as childcare issues, rural transportation issues, veterans re-entry, apprenticeship programs, and K-12 workforce training. Over the past year, this group has continued to meet to develop strategic priorities, while the formal Workforce Development Committee was created to evaluate the new CFA workforce proposals. To date, the Southern Tier Regional Economic Development Committee has provided more than $25 million in funding to 52 projects that help to support the development of our workforce. This has leveraged more than $91 million in other funding for a total investment in regional workforce development efforts of $117 million. But this year alone, there are 63 workforce projects recommended by the Council. While we recognize the importance of training in our workforce development, we know that training won't help families if they cannot get to work due to a lack of childcare. Currently, in the 8 counties, there is a demand for childcare for children under 6 of 32,505 slots. Our current supply is barely 50%, with only 16,413 slots available. This gap of over 16,000 means that highly qualified and educated parents are sitting on the sidelines. They cannot apply for or keep jobs. As you saw in our road trip video, in 2018, the Ithaca Community Child Care Center was approved for a $3.9 million expansion. To further support Governor Cuomo's Women's Agenda, the Regional Economic Development Council's Opportunity Agenda, and workforce development initiatives, we are recommending 10 child care projects this year for a total gain of 896 new slots and an increase of 132 child care workers, a total of 26 projects that would impact child care. In early 2020, the Regional Council will be adopting the Child Care Now Strategic Plan, which was developed by the 8-county regional child care resource and referral consortiums with utilizing a $1,500 seed grant. The 5 goals of this plan focus on availability, accessibility, affordability, quality, and creating a context for excellence region-wide, especially in home-based child care centers. Our feature project this year is the Country Kids Child Care Center, LLC, who will relocate and expand an existing New York State licensed child care center to a larger parcel and increase capacity from 46 slots to 146 slots. The location is within Chemung County's Airport Corporate Park. This park is home to 15 companies, including Corning Community College, and most notably being Wayfair, the nation's largest online furniture retailer. And now I'd like to turn it over to Judy, who's going to talk about our downtown revitalization efforts.
I'm going to talk about our downtown revitalization. I'm going to talk about our downtown communities. So excluding the funding from the rounds 1 through 4 of the DRI, so taking out that $40 million, the Council has provided over $13.6 million in funding to 51 projects to support our downtown communities. This is across the region. We could not do this without the help of our sister agencies, including HCR and the Department of State and where's my friend? And the Canal Corp. Thank you. We could not do it without the other agencies that support us. And I think that's really an important point that I wanted to make here, especially in our downtowns. Pretty critical. This money, this $13.6 million, has leveraged more than $29.7 million in other funding for a total investment in the Southern Tier's downtowns of $43.3 million. And again, this is in addition to the DRI. Some of this funding has helped us accomplish a key goal of encouraging our communities to embrace the concept of climate-smart communities. And I just wanted to add that the second smallest community to achieve the designation in the state is the village of Montour Falls, which is within the Canal Corridor, just saying. So through rounds 1 through 3 of the DRI, 40 projects have been supported, which has led to ancillary economic benefits and growth. And I can speak directly to those ancillary economic benefits. In Watkins Glen alone, the DRI met the governor's goals of spurring additional non-publicly supported investment. Since the Watkins DRI announcement, the DRI catchment area has experienced over $70 million of additional private investment. So it's working. I'd like to highlight a project that demonstrates the significance of the role we can play to bolster our communities and businesses. This year, we are supporting Home Central through the CFA process. This is a multi-generational business that is a local home improvement and building supplies store. It has 3 locations in the southern tier: Vestal, Owego, and as you can see on the slide, their most recent location in Candor, which is in Tioga County. Home Central has been in business since 1973 and is a full-service home center, including building materials for residential and commercial construction. In this round of the CFA process, the Council is recommending support for this property owner, D&A Properties, to renovate their building, which is the former auto repair shop in downtown Owego. They're going to renovate it into a modern design showroom and sales office in order to lease it to Home Central. This project will create 3 net new jobs and also renovate an historic 1920s post and beam building using smart growth principles. This project will redevelop a site that was flooded in 2011, and it is located within the DRI boundaries of Owego in the Southern Tiers Round 3 DRI community. Now I'm going to ask Brett to share with you what's happening in Hornell as the newest DRI community to be announced.
Thank you. So in addition to the successes we've seen in the previous rounds of the DRI, this year Hornell is excited to receive the support of the Southern Tier REDC for our application in Round 4. The Council received applications from 6 communities, and Hornell was selected due to our recent and impending job growth, as well as our ability to support a vibrant community where tomorrow's workforce will live, work, and raise families. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my community. We are located on the western border of Steuben County. Hornell is a city with walkable downtown, a wide main street flanked with numerous small businesses, valuable historic structures, and mixed-use residential options. Our community is animated by a growing arts community and strong partnerships with nearby educational institutions. Both the arts community and educational institutions are part of what I represent. Hornell is a community that's still reckoning with the impact of urban renewal, but through state and regional support and the efforts of local leaders and committed community members, the stage is set for our resurgence. Over the past several years, we have seen investments in local housing, manufacturing, arts and cultural programming, new healthcare centers, commercial and mixed-use development, and public infrastructure, including the URI award to Alstom Transportation that Betsy discussed. In addition to connecting Hornell to the future of global transportation, on the ground, this has bolstered the diversity and opportunities of our local community. Alstom currently employs people from 33 different countries living and working in Hornell. This creates enormous potential for future global connections and is enlivening the commercial and public life of the city. The DRI Award will enable Hornell to continue to rebound by supporting the cultural, historic, educational, recreational, artistic, and commercial opportunities necessary to train and sustain a robust workforce, engaged citizens, and a high standard of living. Announced as a DRI selection on October 9th, Hornell has already begun the process of developing a strategic investment plan to revitalize our downtown. A local planning committee made up of municipal representatives, community leaders, and other stakeholders is leading the effort, supported by a team of private sector experts and state planners. The strategic investment plan for downtown Hornell will examine local assets and opportunities and identify economic development, transportation, housing, education, and placemaking projects that align with the community's vision and are poised for implementation to revitalize our downtown. The Downtown Hornell Strategic Investment Plan will guide this investment of DRI grant funds in revitalization projects that advance the community's vision while leveraging and expanding upon the state's $10 million investment. Our public engagement events start next week, and plans for the DRI's 4th round will be complete in 2020. Judy?
So you've had a chance to see what the Southern Tier has accomplished so far, and you have an idea of what's ahead of us. And so we are recommending 26 projects for state investment and for ESD state investment, and these projects with a total cost of more than $133 million. It will leverage $109 million of outside investment. I just want to summarize that this year's full CFA complement of recommended projects will have 26 projects that impact childcare, 62 projects that impact environmental justice strategy, and 63 projects that impact our workforce development strategy. As you can see by the next slide, the proposed priority projects touch nearly every part of the southern tier. The projects touch all of our communities, large and small. It includes, our tradable sectors. It includes, and most importantly, it's inclusive and it meets the needs of our young families, our children, our elderly, and our special needs population. Our region is in the midst of a critical economic shift, and I can honestly say that I feel that it has never been a better time to make an investment in the southern tier. With continued support, our region can reclaim its place as a hotbed of innovation because the southern tier is soaring. Now, as you may know, virtual and augmented reality is being used to design automobiles and aircraft. It's being used to perform practice before they do major surgical procedures, and it's being used by large employers for their workforce training efforts. We have prepared a very special exercise for you today. You're going to have a VR tour through our rounds 1 through 3 of our DRI communities. My colleagues are standing by ready to assist you in experiencing this. Please remember to look all the way around, go up and down. It's a 360-degree experience. We have about 5 minutes maybe left in our presentation for you to experience it. It only runs 3 minutes. Please don't be shy. Try this out.
All right, okay. I'm going to check first to make sure that it's on.
Nope.
All right. So we're going to turn it on.
And then to press play, you're going to look for the white arrow.
Okay.
That's your trigger right now.
Okay.
Okay. So to make sure when you press start,
Okay.
you're going to turn it on.
Okay.
You want to definitely.
Or you can just hold it up to your face.
There you go.
Thank you. So,
We go ahead and start. That's the Oculus button where your thumb is. Yep.
and what does that do?
Yep.
It might tell you right away that you need to press
Has a cursor here.
Okay.
So the trigger
Okay.
I got it.
and start the play. If there's a pair of plays.
Get pictures of them.
Oh, there's the, and then click.
You go see the white dot.
Oh, mine's working.
What do we do after that?
Yeah. So mine's dark.
Okay.
Dark.
Now it's on.
Okay.
It might tell you to press and hold the Oculus button. That's the one your thumb is on.
Right. I'm doing that.
Okay. If you did it already, maybe you need to let go and
Sure to
try
move your
again.
heads around. Up and down, look up.
Okay.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
you're going to
You
use
see
the
everything.
trigger out here to point at the white triangle and
Down
press
into the
play.
falls.
That I almost felt. I thought. Yeah. I really thought it was falling off.
Just let it play.
Yeah, be sure to move your heads up and down.
And the park view in.
It is black now. I had something and then it went black.
Turn to the right and turn to the left so that you can see everything.
Yes.
Did you get started?
Yes. Is there a way to make it louder?
There it sure is.
Thank you.
I can't get the thing to go up the screen.
Here.
Oh, no, now I have another one down here. Yeah.
Yeah, my bar's on the screen too.
Okay. If you got to
See the red dot?
once the menu should go away.
Hit the trigger.
You're seeing the menu the whole
The little white dot on the trigger.
There.
This is the trigger?
Yep. Something's supposed to be
Yeah, how do I turn it up?
volume.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Looks like it's up.
Okay, thank you.
And now you can look around.
There's one menu that should be toggling on and off there. Okay. Did that take it away? No.
I've had all three of these.
Everybody get started?
I saw the thing, but I can still see it with the dot there.
Apartments.
Here, let's swap out a machine screen.
No. Okay, I see it now. The triangle, yeah.
Yeah, and I did try one of them.
Oh my gosh.
move?
It's just, I'm in the
You're
same
gonna look
pot.
for the white triangle
It's all right.
and shoot
We're
right
eating
at
into
it.
your
Press
Q&A
play.
time, so.
Yeah?
Very pretty.
Okay.
Very cool. I'm done. Mine's done. Get to the theater yet? Look down.
Here's the remote. You're gonna point at the white triangle and use your index finger as the trigger. Should be a menu.
Maybe if I try.
No menu. It just says Wego remote. Down.
Okay, here.
It is? That's where I'm having a hard
It's fine, no, I'm-
Okay, you can just here's my emergency backup plan. It's running. How's that?
That's
No, I don't know. Maybe it's hand-eye coordination. I can't get it. That was great.
That was cool. Very cool.
I know. It's amazing. Yeah. So a friend of mine works. Yes, it was fabulous. A friend of mine works with children. It's a.
That was great.
Kind of like Make-A-Wish, but it's a different foundation. It made me dizzy. Yeah.
Thank you. It was beautiful.
Let's give them a round.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Only a few minutes long, so some of your colleagues who started a minute later.
Thank you for that multimedia presentation,
Star Wars.
which is always a risk with technologically challenged commissioners.
Well, I think we wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to experience the way training and education is going to be in the next 10 years. This is how it'll be done in terms of actually learning a skill. It'll be done virtually.
Good, amazing. Thank you so much for that presentation. We're going to rush through some questions so we can, stay on time. I'm going to start with Assemblywoman Lupardo.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. A great presentation. Really appreciate all the effort put in. As you know, our region is struggling with pretty high poverty numbers. We're not really seeing a lot of improvement, but hopefully these efforts will begin to see that improve. I was just curious if you could more specifically address your efforts in workforce development, childcare, bringing on new careers in agriculture toward addressing our high levels of poverty. If you could just try to draw those connections for us a little bit better.
Thank you. So the workforce development initiatives, all of the ones that we look at those very specific through that lens. Will these create jobs that will present a living wage? So that's kind of I know that no one's asking us to do that, but that's what we do. We look at, will this workforce project help people make living wages? And certainly the child care initiatives are a big part of that, because if people need to stay home and stay out of the workforce, that's not helping their families rise out of poverty. So I think you heard us talk about the child care planning, and part of that is affordability. So we're looking at all the aspects of child care and how we can make it more affordable to get people back into the workforce. So those are two of the the big pieces there. And I'm sorry, there was a third part of your question.
No, that's it.
Oh.
Senator Breslin?
More of a comment than a question. I was impressed by your enthusiasm, by the focus towards workforce development and not being exclusively preparing a worker, but all the other elements of making a worker possible, including the daycare.
Okay. Brian?
Madam Secretary, thank you very much. Thank you for that excellent presentation. Just to comment first, I know in your printed book, which
On mic.
on mic.
just turn it towards you. It's not picking you
Is
up.
it on?
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that excellent presentation. Your printed book is outstanding. Beautiful photos. Would have loved to have seen captions on some of these great photos so we know where these wonderful places are. So, because they are so nice. I noticed in our report that we received that surprisingly, tourism numbers are still not where you would like to see them, and we're just wondering, with all of the assets that you have, Corning and the DRI community, Seneca Falls, Watkins Glen, are there any barriers that would help you boost the tourism numbers?
Well, I think a couple things. One is that the way tourism is defined, we sort of split. The Watkins Glen area, of course, sits in the Finger Lakes tourism area, right? So it's a little more difficult to sort of look at the whole southern tier and be able to measure that as a single unit for tourism because of the way it's split up. But beyond that, what I would say is that there are definite, discrete, and concrete efforts being taken. So between LUMA and Binghamton, and there's a real push on that, we're trying to move to year round. So it's not, one of the issues you have with tourism is you don't want everyone to show up at one time. So we're trying to move more towards the fall, winter, seasonal piece. And so I think that it might take a little longer, but I think long term, if we're able to do that, we will actually bridge over and have a year-round economy in a lot of these communities.
So let me tag in on one other thing, which is that, I mentioned that we obviously have a lot of colleges and universities. So you're talking about tens of thousands, probably in the aggregate, hundreds of thousands of parents coming for parents' weekends, alumni coming for reunions, even employers coming to recruit people from out of town, et cetera. Just a ton of visitors, not to mention athletic events. One of the things that we've been talking about in the Innovation Work Group, which also includes tourism, is wayfinding. So what can we do to help make sure that the people who are coming for 2 days consider coming for a third day, and making sure that they're making use of the assets that are there. So I think that's more to come on that.
Judy, I'd like to add to that too. One of our biggest challenges that our employers in the hospitality and tourism industry face is finding an adequate workforce. These are seasonal positions predominantly, and frankly, most of them won't hire someone under the age of 18 because of a lot of the regulations that we have related to the kinds of equipment that people can handle if they're in those kinds of businesses. And so they struggle with hiring the 16, the 17-year-olds that would be available traditionally, and we're looking to find creative solutions to that. One of the things that we are working on right now in partnership with Corning Community College is through an initiative out of my office. It's called the I-86 Innovation Corridor Workforce Initiative. We're actually working with hospitality-based businesses in the 3 counties of the western edge of the southern tier to look at what are the competencies, so not specific to some task, but what are the competencies that tourism professionals need to have in order to be employed. And like I said, we're working directly with Corning Community College to develop that curriculum.
Okay. Commissioner Barton?
Well, good morning, and again, excellent presentation. Thank you for that, and thank you also for it was very gratifying and exciting to see that the region is embracing Governor Cuomo's very aggressive clean energy and environmental and climate change agenda. And I wanted to echo, I am also a big fan of Professor Whittingham, and I wanted to mention for my fellow commissioners, for those of you that don't know, this Nobel Prize really is a big deal for those of you who are not energy nerds following this all the time. It absolutely puts Binghamton and the Southern Tier on the global clean technology innovation map for sure, and there's the other partnerships around that you mentioned. So what I'm wondering in terms of a question is, in whether it's clean tech or some of the other innovation industries you're targeting, it's kind of the flip side of Assemblywoman's question about populations in poverty. Can you say more about what you're doing to retain the high-tech talent that you're cultivating through the incubator and university system? And I imagine, obviously, it ties into those same themes of workforce training, childcare, all of those things, but could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so some of them are quite direct. I mean, so as you mentioned, workforce training and childcare, and I would just underscore childcare in particular as the former president of a nonprofit childcare agency board. It is a really difficult challenge to try and grow new childcare slots in the community, and so a tremendously important priority for us to make sure that that capacity is there. At the end of the day, the philosophy that we use is the region has to be the kind of place that someone who has choices of employment and choices of places to live would look at our region and say, that's a place that I want to settle, that's the place that I want to put down roots, that's the place that I want to have a family and stick around. We know that there are a lot of people who feel that way. You don't have to go very far around the country to see people with roots back in upstate New York. I mean, you can just look at what happened when they opened a Wegmans in Brooklyn and everyone went nuts, right? These are all people who have roots in upstate New York and are reminded of what they had, and we just need to provide the assets to make sure that they know that they're always welcome when they come back. Part of that is a messaging, and it was not coincidental that when we chose who to do the video that you saw, we chose a young company founded by young people who, let's be honest, communicate in a way that Gen Z and millennials find appealing and the way that they actually think of the world. I had a colleague at Cornell who went to a student and said, here's a cardboard piece of paper, it's a couple inches by a couple inches, we're sending these out for summer programs. We send it through this thing called the U.S. Postal Service. Take a look at this thing. What would you call it? The student didn't know that the name for that was postcard, right? So we need to change the way that we talk about what it's like to live in our region and how we get that message out. We do have the assets there. We just need to be able to talk about it in a way that people who are looking at careers in very expensive places like the Bay Area in California or downstate can look at it and say, I can have a similar quality of life, or maybe at least a different quality of life, but some similar elements here. And that's a really important part of our innovation strategy.
Could I'll just add something to that on the sort of future planning. In terms of the Hornell DRI, part of our focus is we have this influx of people working at Alstom from all over the world. And so the sort of two components of our focus are providing a place and resources where those people that are coming from outside would be interested in staying, but simultaneously building an education center that will train local students in partnership with local universities to also be the next generation of that workforce for Alstom. So we're trying to keep the sort of culture and lively community that will retain people both from outside but also grow the future of our local workforce. So.
If I may just add one thing, and I would argue, I think one of the impetuses for creating the regional councils is building that regional economy without the borders of county by county. And one thing specifically with regard to what our large existing companies like the Alstoms, Raymonds, BAEs, what they're doing specifically with battery technologies moving forward is I think this is an opportunity to create this industry cluster that's building that regional economy that crosses borders, whether that's for opportunities to connect with supply chain. I mean, we've been talking with our existing companies and making connections between Amphenol and Alstom as a result of that with our economic development partners. So you have that investment strategy and that supply chain growth potentially, but you also have the ability to retain those workers, because one thing we've heard in Broome County when we did our workforce strategy from mid-level professionals was my fear is if I lose my job, I have to leave the region, I have to leave the state because I don't know if there's that transferable opportunity for me. So we're now making those connections not only on the investment and the actual processing and manufacturing side, but as well with our workforce and creating that that economy without those geographic restrictions.
Commissioner Reardon, did they answer your question?
Nope. But it was great. You've touched on so many workforce ideas that are so important, so congratulations. I had a list of workforce issues, but you're doing amazing work. But I have one question that really touches retention from the highly trained people to the people who are stranded in the rural areas, to the parents who can't get their children to daycare. Broadband. There is so much that it goes across the spectrum, whether it makes it a more livable place, definitely the ability to work from home. I know when we were there last year in Delaware County, they talked about people, the second homeowners, who might spend a longer amount of time there if they could access their work from their second home. So what are we doing?
Yeah, it's a great question, and first let me start by echoing it. It's a trend that we see all over. I'm from Ithaca, New York. A colleague of mine at Cornell, her husband works from home. They're the world leader in the slow motion timing cameras for sporting events. Who knew that this company had a few people working remotely out of home offices in Ithaca? I mean, you don't have to go very far to find somebody who's the world expert in some esoteric thing for whom the ability to communicate with the rest of the world makes that job possible and makes it possible for that family to live in our region. So we think it's tremendously important. So first off, let me expand the scope a little bit. It's not just air quotes, broadband, it's also wireless communication. Something as simple as being able to make a cell phone call that doesn't drop when you actually drive from one community to another, as well as ensuring that we have 5G telecom so that we're not left behind as the big population centers get this new wave of technology and we're the have-nots. It has been a tremendously important area of investment for us. We do have a project here that's going to help with fiber broadband. We are very interested in connecting more with the state around what we can do to encourage telecommunications providers to roll out 5G in our community.
And in fact, our work group actually had a call with the state to sort of say what can we do as a region to really push this envelope. We recognize it as it is the number one issue in terms of sort of that environmental justice piece. That is why, that is what we're using. That is one that, without any question, that's what's going to equalize if we can give everyone that opportunity to have access.
Did you get an answer to what you can do as a region?
You know,
we're working on it.
We should probably take that offline.
Okay, so we are right on time. I want to thank you for your presentation. I want to say that your love for your region really comes across, and we appreciate you coming to Albany and sharing all this great stuff with us today. So good luck. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you so much.